Funding for this program was provided by the Ford Foundation, the German Marshall Fund of the United States, and the Corporation for Public Broadcasting. Frontline is made possible by contributions to your PBS station from viewers like you.
25 years ago, in the spring of 1980, as 53 of its citizens were held hostage in Iran, America was at another crossroads in the Middle East.
The whole region seemed to be bursting into flames, and the Saudis were the stable ally, and the U.S. had an interest in maintaining strong relations with the Saudis.
That spring, the PBS series World, the precursor to Frontline, broadcast perhaps the most controversial film in the history of public television.
A docudrama called Death of a Princess has stirred up an international hornet's nest.
Death of a Princess told the story of a young Saudi princess who was publicly executed for committing adultery.
She forgot who she was, a royal princess, a married woman.
When the film was broadcast in Britain and the U.S., the Saudi government threatened economic sanctions and ordered the British ambassador to leave the country.
The government of Saudi Arabia, or the ruling family, portrayed this as an attack on Islam, as an attack on our values.
In the U.S., both Mobil Oil and the Secretary of State pressured PBS not to air Death of a Princess.
We have been taking an awful lot of heat these last few days from the government, from the administration, from Congress, from the oil industry. Can you stand up to that?
Oh, certainly.
However displeased the government was, the program was broadcast, and it made its own statement.
Tonight, Frontline presents a new edition of this landmark film, a dramatized documentary based on interviews conducted by journalist Anthony Thomas.
When I traveled through the Arab world, the story was celebrated. Everyone had their own version of that story, all very, very different.
Thomas's investigation took him into the heart of one of the most closed societies in the world.
These people pervert Islam. They use Islam. They scare people to death with their barbarous, illegal punishments.
It was a journey that would reveal the intimate lives of the Saudi royal family.
To relieve their boredom, these princesses live the most intricate and busy sex lives.
And explore the central dilemma of the Arab world.
It's the story of 200 million people. How much of our past must we abandon? How much of your present is worth imitating?
Tonight, a reporter's search for the complex truth about the death of a princess.
أشهد أن لا إله إلا الله الله أكبر الله أكبر
خطوة إلى الوراء. أمنوا مسافة كافية.
I don't think so. And he's going with his
It's curious how an after-dinner conversation could open a trail that led me through 5 capitals, a civil war, and the private lives of dozens of friends and strangers. It was a last-minute invitation. Somebody more important had probably dropped out.
That the West understand our problems. We are a society in a delicate balance. On the one hand, there's Islam, the teachings of the Holy Quran, a way of life that has remained unchanged since the days of the Prophet, 14 centuries, unchanged. On the other hand, there's oil.
He's immensely influential. In his own country, a power behind the throne, a man to reckon with.
You're the consumers.
Let's call him Side Padre.
But how to strike that balance? That's what your press fails to understand. Look at the way we are treated in your newspapers. Take that story of the princess. They said about that very...
ناخد قهوتنا في الصالون أفضل الصالون أريح بكتير.
ظاهر إن كلامنا ثقيل الظل على السيدات.
You were talking just now about the princess.
Let me tell you about that princess. Do you know who she was?
Well, I understand that she was a member
Her grandfather was the king's eldest brother. She was his favorite. He loved her. She traveled all over the world. Her parents gave her everything she wanted. And when she was of the right age, the family chose a good husband for her, a royal cousin. But the young lady had ideas of her own. She rebelled. She refused to fulfill the marriage contract. She wanted to go to university, to Beirut. The family agreed. The husband, he had no choice. You can imagine the influences in Beirut. Radical Arab politics, women's liberation, Palestinians, Western influences, all pulling in different directions. And then she met a boy from our country, a student. She completely lost her head. She forgot who she was. A royal princess, the king's niece, a married woman. You see, in our country, execution for adultery happens very rarely. There have to be 4 independent and honorable male witnesses, or 8 independent and honorable female witnesses. They have to witness, the actual penetration. Now, the only other way that the accused can be condemned is out of her own mouth, by saying 3 times in front of a court of law, I have committed adultery. 3 times. Well, that girl stood before the court. She was asked, and she said, I have committed adultery. Well, immediately the king stopped the proceedings. He loved her. He summoned her to his private rooms. Do you realize that if you admit your guilt for a second and a third time, I can't save you? Your grandfather can't save you. Go back. You only have to say one thing, that you will never see this boy again. Please. Well, she went back to that court and she said, I have committed adultery. I have committed adultery 3 times. In 5 seconds, she had condemned herself and the boy.
She pulled 3 ways. It's Western feminism, Arab radicalism, and then the law of Islam.
I shared the story with a close friend. To protect his identity, we'll give him a new name and a new setting, as we must with everyone else that was interviewed. Let's call my friend Dr. Marwan Shaheen and make him a lecturer here at the University of London.
Yeah, you were there?
I wanted his reaction because I found it hard to believe that a girl would deliberately return to that country with her lover and die for her principles.
Look, I don't come from her country, but I am an Arab. I understand that girl, and I understand her family. It's the story of 200 million people, the whole Arab predicament. How much of our past must we abandon? How much of your present is worth imitating? I've not told you this before. My own father has never traveled more than 10 kilometers on a donkey. To this day, he still believes the world is flat. And I am here. No, Christopher, to survive as an Arab, one has to become a schizophrenic. One has to learn to live in 2 worlds at once. It's difficult. For some, it is impossible. Like your princess. What a story. As you say, all the pressures. First the West, then the radicals in Beirut. And finally, when she's forced back into the desert matrix again, she says, no, no, no. She would rather destroy herself and the boy she loves. She could be any Arab girl in any Arab country. You know, if you can tell that story, where are you going to start?
Well, I've got to check a few facts first. And there are 2 people in England who gave interviews to the press. How much did they pay you out there?
$275 a week.
What's that, about 5 times what you get in England?
Right, and the rest. In 3 months I'd earned enough to put down the deposit on a new house. This is my mum's place. I'm moving in a month, and then me and Jeanette can get married soon as we like.
Do you mind if I record?
No, not bothered.
Did you get any reaction from their embassy when you gave your pictures and the story to the Express?
I never heard nothing. I wouldn't chance going back, though. But don't get me wrong. Even if it weren't for execution, I'd be hard-pressed to go back there again. From the moment I landed, stepped out into that heat, I thought, this isn't the place for me. Smelly tip. Rubbish all over the place. Brand new buildings, you know, falling apart. Cats running in and out. Stray dogs, heat. No bloody booze. We had 1 day off a week. I tell you, we used to wish we were back on site. There's nothing to do, you see. Down to that pool, bit of something to eat. Having a game of cards in that crummy hotel. Back to the pool. Chock boring. I never spoke to one woman all the time I was here. Not one. Well, never even spoke to a local, come to that.
How did you come across the execution?
Well, we'd just knocked off work. I knew there was something up like, because they stopped all the traffic. They made us walk the rest of the way back to the hotel. That were roughly 12:30. Anyway, I went in the hotel and I spoke to the little Lebanese guy behind the counter.
What's going on out there?
And he told me that some guy were up for the chop.
Execution.
Where? He didn't say a note about a princess, like. I thought it was just one guy that were going to get it.
Keys for 401 and 402.
101, please. Any road, I went up to my room to get changed, and my window, it looked out onto this car park, like big open area, and people were already starting to gather. They were dumping this big pile of sand. So, I decided to take my camera. I cut a piece out of a cigarette packet, like a little window for the lens, and I stuck my Instamatic inside it.
How many people were in the square?
No, I'm not much good at crowds. But by the time I got down there, you see, they were coming out of the mosques. It's funny, innit? Straight out of church and off to see a bloke get chucked. By the time I got to the car park, there must have been 3,000 or more.
Can I see the photographs?
Aye, I thought you'd want to. Here they are. There were all these uniformed police soldiers, whatever they are. Most of them armed. Round the edge, in the middle, these two trucks. See them better here. Jeeps, like. 2 doors on the back. There's the princess. There's the bloke. And that's the executioner. There he is.
He's not wearing any kind of uniform?
No, just dressed like any old Arab you'd see in the street. He didn't have a great big massive shining sword neither. About that long it was. None too sharp. 5 blows, the lad still won't be headed. Oh, his head never did come off. They chopped him round his neck, both sides, the back of his head. And after they'd finished with him, his head was just resting on his shoulders. And that was it. Like there was nothing holding it on. And that was it.
Sorry, can we go back to the beginning? They led them out of the trucks.
All right. They led him into the middle of the square. The guy's hands were tied behind his back. He looked as though he'd been drugged or beaten up or something. He was wobbling about all over the place. He wasn't resisting. They led the girl off to the right-hand side as I were looking at it. She was veiled. I didn't see her face. Anyway, they knelt her down by this pile of sand. It's daft, but you see, I'd still no idea what was going to happen to her. I mean, I knew she wanted to pass her by her out like that, but as far as I was concerned, there was just one guy were going to get done. I kept trying to get a better view, and there were these big iron wheels at my back, and there were all these Arabs, lad, perched on the wheels and on the wall behind, just like vultures. Anyway, I ran round the back of the crowd, and I made towards them. I was about halfway there, and the shooting started. The girl were already dead. She was just a black heap. They'd knelt her down, like, in front of the sand, and shot her. And then they blindfolded the boy.
Well, you mean they made the boy watch the girl die?
No.
What did he do?
Well, he hadn't got a great lot about him. I don't think I would have had in his boots. They practically had to carry him into the middle of the square. And then they made him kneel. I tell you, I was shaking. I'd never seen anything like that before. And all through the execution, there was this guy sitting next to me. And he never watched the execution, he was watching me all the time. I was a bit wary, like, but I carried on.
How did the crowd react?
Well, it wasn't like Wembley. Just the odd clap when it were being done. You see, in their eyes, it's like ridding themselves of a murderer. It's against the laws, you know. The debt set in the ways. And then these blokes, police or whatever they were, piled the bodies onto stretchers and chucked them in the back of the trucks. And the crowd pissed off, and that was it.
On those people. Their only crime is that they are living centuries behind us. They have different things, and we have different things.
I'm not picking on anyone. I'm just trying to find the fact.
Well, you better watch your step. I tell you. You can kiss goodbye. A block of concrete around your feet. Splash. That's that. No questions asked. They're so powerful.
Elsa Gruber. For 18 months, Elsa was employed as a nanny by the princess's grandfather.
We were sisters. We were just like that. We shared the same bedroom here in London. Can you imagine how I felt? I was stiff from here to here. I couldn't eat, I couldn't do anything. I was so delirious, I locked myself up. I was hysterical. One day I just phoned them up. I want to go home. But that's none of your business.
This is our 4th meeting. When Jackson broke his story to the press, Elsa rushed in to the family's defense. Now she's writing a book.
I feel with them. I feel their dilemma. It's their way. It's their law. He had to do it to her.
Who had to?
Her grandfather, of course.
You mean the old prince?
Yes, the king's elder brother.
But he wasn't responsible. The princess was tried before a court.
I know, my dear.
But why did you say he had
You
to
tell your story and I'll tell mine. Then we'll see who's the prize idiot. I've already told you too much. You just tell your people to get off their backsides and work on that contract. I had a rotten, dimmed family. That was the first family I ever had. I was treated like a queen down there, looked after, provided for, taken round the world. What more do you want? I adore the way I've been treated. And that's what I'm going to write about in my book. My book is not going to be about the princess. She's just there to get attention.
Can I ask you one basic question? You've heard my version. Now, all I need to know is...
I'm not answering any questions. Not until those lousy bums in your office get off their backsides.
It's not their fault. We're actually waiting for your people. Let's not go into all that again. Just one basic question. Is the story I've been given true? Or at least true in all its essentials? Because obviously if it isn't...
I was the only person who lived in that country and was witness to all those things. I'm the only person who found that out.
For weeks, Elsa's book overshadows all our discussions. She won't give me anything without consultations with lawyers, a contract, a guaranteed fee, and so on. And in the meantime, we play intricate games.
You're a rat in ermine. All this smooth talk on the outside, and you're just a dirty little common cheat underneath.
What are you talking about?
I know what you were up to today. You were down at the Daily Express. You were trying to get all their notes of my interviews. You tried to cut me out when I didn't tell them a damn thing. Don't give me that. I phoned your secretary. She said, Mr. Ryder will probably be too busy to phone you today. You had interviews all over the place. You were down in Fleet Street.
Fleet Street. I had lunch with an Arab friend in the city. You're incredible.
Sit down. If you are fair with me, I'll be fair with you. We'll still be friends. My agent would kill me if she saw what I was doing. And mind you don't tell her. Don't tell her anything. I always play this when I'm upset. Remember, not a word to my agent. There she is. That's her. She was so beautiful, slim, something of a wild animal. They were fun. Just women. She and I are just like that.
I've seen the girl in the palace. I've seen her execution in a parking lot. Now, I know that she met the boy in Beirut. I have to go there, find some of her classmates. Or his. Why did he go back with her? Why did she go back? And why did she stand up in front of that court and condemn herself to death? Jesus. Who was she?
Awitak!
Your passport.
Welcome.
Fourth year of the Civil War. Barb Idris, the old heart of the city. How much would a girl here at university have been affected by the pain of Beirut? He took her off into his private room. I mean, she was his favorite. He said, "What are you doing? You're going to kill yourself. If you carry on like this, there's nothing even I can do to save you."
She went back in the court.
I spent that first evening with my closest friends in Beirut. Even though this was one of the worst nights of fighting in the city, it was the story of the princess that seemed to touch a personal nerve.
Insisting on her own death.
Yeah.
She was so honest. I feel, I love this girl. I think she was, a free soul. She was like a bird. She wanted to live, to be happy, to sing, to love. And I think that, when she weighed it out, she thought that if she carried on living the way they wanted her to live, she would have also destroyed herself. So in that way, she felt that she still had her dignity. That's very important.
In a car park? I mean, I still don't grasp what she thought she could achieve.
I can feel why she did this. As a Palestinian, when I was deprived of all these things, of my homeland, of everything that belonged to me, I had the feeling of revolt. I wanted to express it. In the first place, I thought somebody would listen to me, but there was no way.
I tried over the years to make somebody listen to my pleading. But nobody gave me an ear. So the outcome of all this feeling was, I felt sometimes that I was going to explode. So, and I am sure she came to that point herself. She had no other expression except to die.
But Violet, sorry. I mean, you're identifying with someone from a highly privileged society, with every material possession. I mean, a princess.
Was she a princess? I mean, she was a princess by identity, obviously, that she comes from a royal family. She has all the comforts and the material comforts of life. She rejected this. As far as she is concerned, as a human spirit, she had nothing. She was not a princess.
She was not free to move like the Palestinians. She was not allowed to do so many things, and the Palestinian is not allowed to do so many things. He doesn't have the liberty to travel wherever. He hasn't got a passport. He hasn't got an identification. It's the same with her.
But they contained her, actually. Like the way they were trying to contain the Palestinian revolution, they contained her by giving her all the material comfort in life. She refused that material comfort. She didn't want it. She wanted to be, and not only to have.
As you do.
As I do, yes. I want to be.
The Beirut connection?
Absolutely. The girl was at the Beirut Women's College, 73, 74. The boy was at the American University.
Eli Salawi.
Is he married?
No, just a student. Shukran.
He was still executed.
The price of meddling with somebody else's wife.
What do you know about the husband?
Not much.
Salawi, professional gossip and raconteur, with his own private network of informers and contacts.
The type would like his wife to stay at home and raise many, many children. It wasn't her kind of life. So she refused to live as his wife.
Do you accept Badra's version?
Absolutely. With the exception that he missed out one important fact.
What was that?
The girl's grandfather. He is very important. He was the ruler's elder brother. A typically reactionary prince. One of those who rode out of the desert, sword in hand, side by side with their father. A very notorious person. Actually, and this is the irony of ironies, he was one of the original Arab playboys. In the early 50s, he used to go abroad every year. Drink, gamble, women. He used to do everything. A very notorious person. Do you know what they called him? The father of two evils. Not just one evil, but double evil. Now, when he heard what his granddaughter had done, he flew into a rage. He thought she had besmirched his honor publicly. He had to prove to everyone that he was still Al-Muqaddam, the fearless one, that he had the balls to take away the life of his favorite granddaughter in order to save the image of his honor publicly.
But she was condemned by a court, not by her grandfather.
Of course. But the old man was so powerful. He could, of course, have ordered the husband just to divorce her, and then there would have been no case.
Yes, but the girl was also responsible for her death. If she'd pleaded not guilty, then the case would have been called off and the grandfather would have been powerless.
Absolutely right. But instead, they were both set on this collision course. You see, they say the girl was very much like her grandfather. She carried the old man's seeds, as they say, followed his traits. She was also fiery-tempered, a bit wild. She acted first and then thought afterwards. Oh, I quite agree with Badra. I think he was right. The girl brought it all on herself.
من الشاب؟
الشياخ.
مين اللي قاعد جنبك؟
رجل انجليزي.
ادينا الهوية. تفضل امشي.
It's over there. It's that gate there. Yes, that one. Okay, fine, thanks. That's, 3.
Okay.
It's London.
شو بدك؟
I've come to see Mr. and Mrs. Haddad. They're expecting me.
بينما كانت الحكومة اللبنانية تستعد لإرسال لجنة رسمية إلى ليبيا وإيطاليا تحقيق ارتفاع الإمام موسى الصدر زعيم طائفة المسلمين الشيعة في لبنان والذي لم يظهر له أثر منذ الاحتفالات السنوية.
Christopher,
Nabil.
You made it, eh?
Who are these people?
Oh, refugees, neighbors, even people from the south. They come here because they feel safe, you know. The gate, the walls. It's the end, Christopher. Complete civic breakdown. Please.
Nabil Haddad.
No water.
Architect and close friend.
Authority. Thank God I persuaded Winner to go back to London, to stay out of it.
And the children?
They're here, with me. We're Arabs, they said. We belong here. We don't give the orders. Out there, 12-year-olds are carrying machine guns. They give the orders.
I know, I've seen it.
The ordinary Lebanese, they are the victims. They have to bear the burden of everyone else's fight. The Russians, the Americans, the Israelis, the Arab left, the Arab right. And every way, we lose. If the peace initiative succeeds, the rejectionists will hit us. If it fails, the Israelis will do it for them. I love my country, but it's finished. I'm 45 years old. Where can I begin again? Christopher, how is your work going? Your princess?
I feel absurd talking about her. Here, now.
Not at all. We felt that story intensely here in the Lebanon. Of course, you know the boy's uncle is their ambassador here.
No, I didn't.
Oh, yes. His guardian, in fact. The father is dead. You know, he wasn't even told about the execution. They didn't even tell him. He loved that boy.
Do you know the ambassador personally?
Oh, yes. He heard at 4 o'clock in the morning. A telephone call. The day after. A shock. He went away for a long time. He wouldn't speak to anybody. Not even his closest friends.
Would he talk to me? No?
No, Christopher. It wouldn't be right. I'm sorry. Are you getting any closer to the girl?
Not really. I had one glimpse of her in a London flat. All the rest is second-hand. I'm relying on the women's college tomorrow. If I can just get the names of some of her classmates.
أميرة هلا هي رافعة الوقت.
She rebelled. She wanted to go to university, to Beirut. You can imagine the influence there. Radical Arab politics, women's liberation, Palestinians, Western influences, all pulling in different directions. She met a boy from our country, a student. She completely lost her head. She forgot who she was.
Mrs. سعيد أنا معول على موعد مشايك يمكن شي ثلث ساعة صرت معول.
نعم بس Mr. Wright.
Oh, Mr. Wright, I'm so sorry. Kept you
I'm
waiting.
sorry. Whenever it's convenient for you, I just wanted to have a few words about the colony.
Well, you've come at a bad time, really. We're at quarter strength and every one of us doing 3-4 jobs at the same time. What was it you wanted to talk to me about?
Well, this is one of the few places where girls congregate from all over the Arab world. I thought I could learn something about the problems of adjustment.
We all have to learn how to adjust, Mr. Ryder. We treat the girls as responsible adults, capable of making a choice from all the possibilities that we offer.
Yes, but what about those girls from very conservative backgrounds? I mean, how do they cope with a sudden burst of freedom?
That's the least of our worries, Mr. Ryder. The girls on campus help them over this thing quickly. What really worries me is when the girls have to go home.
What have been your worst experiences?
Some of the girls coming to me...
It's a sad fact of our profession that to learn we often have to deceive, hold back the crucial question, skirt around the subject, until the moment feels right.
But most of them have no choice at all. They're forced to go home.
Dr. Marouche, the girl who was executed, the princess.
Yes?
Did she come and talk to you? Did she tell you how she felt before she returned?
Oh, she was never a student of this university.
She was here in 73, 74, I'm sure.
No. I've been here since 1965. She was never a student here.
You're quite certain?
Oh, I'm positive. You're welcome to see our records if you want.
George, thought you might get stuck in the lift. The generator just went. Right, I'm on my way down. I think this is what you want.
Monday morning, February the 6th. It's a weekly magazine published here.
Killer Love.
Yes. The article caused quite a stir.
Yeah, I'm sure.
But that's the man who took the pictures of the execution.
Yes, I've already met him. They met in Beirut. Where did they get the photographs of her at the women's party?
The nanny, of course. After this was published, internal security was so angry that they shut the paper down.
They must be dead scared of it.
Be very careful, my friend. Be very careful.
He's low.
ايه حلاوات ها هذا بعد كان ناقص ادينا كام شمعة يا معلم زيادة لا ما تحطه هون خد حطه عند سوني على البيانو سوني يا حبيبي البيانو بيشتغل بدون كهرباء وصوتك حلو بدون ميكرو يا هيك اشربوا لكم شكل شوفكم عندنا هيك اوكي.
That's Victor. He's 24. He went to the girl 2 years ago with $5,000 in his pocket. Now, he's worth $1 million. Beirut, the capital of the Levant. For 4,000 years, the city of merchants. Perhaps we have to pay the price.
Not just Beirut, George.
That's not about Christians and Muslims. Do you know what they're saying out there? You've shown us your word, and we don't want it. Take us back. Give us something that's ours. Something that we understand. Take us back to the tribe. Pakistan, Iran, turn to Islam. In Tehran, even in Cairo, university girls are saying, put us back behind our veils. Take us back.
أفلا؟ كيفك؟
أهلين.
زين؟ شو أخبارك؟ مش الحال؟ اشتقنا لك.
تفضل. أو فيكتور زغبي، كريستوفر رايدر.
نايس ميتينج يو. إيه خبرنا شو القصة؟
لك شيء؟
أنا هربت من الشوبات وجيت بورد لي شي شوي
بس من الشغل هرب.
أها. La belle princesse. Actually, I knew her.
You knew her?
Met her a few times.
Where?
At Tramps discotheque. Near the International Hotel. Disco. Dancing, dancing. Fantastic. She took over the whole floor.
Who was she with?
Some friends. When this story came out, my cousin Ziad said to me, "Don't you remember that girl? That was the princess. She was the one at Tramps."
Do you think I could meet your cousin?
I don't think that would be such a good idea.
We're absolutely confidential.
مين هذا؟ ليش هالأسئلة كلها سوا؟
لا ولا يهمك صديقي هذا ولا شيء.
Look, I just want to meet somebody who really knew her.
Leave it alone, Mr. Writer. Just leave it alone. رفلة. أنا نشوفك حبيبي. إن شاء الله المشوار الجاي بس نجي بعد 3 أشهر وكنت باي باي. مع السلامة.
Life was such an easy game to play. Oh, now I need a place to hide away. Yes, I believe in yesterday.
When did you say they were here?
I told the boy was here, 73, 74.
Oh, no.
Nothing. Have you tried the Arab University?
I've tried all 3 universities. Look, would you mind going back in your files for the last 10 years?
Our records go back to 1870. Nobody by those names.
University? Of course she was never at university. I could have told you that. If you paid me first, before you started all this flying about. University. Her mind was like a 15. But her instincts, her feelings, that was different. In those things, she was a woman.
How old was she when she died?
I would say about 19.
Where did you meet the boy?
How should I know? I wasn't there watching her like rat's cheese. I had my arms full with the baby. I never saw the boy, and that's what I'm telling you.
Yes, now, can we start at the beginning? Now, you went out there early 76, about 18 months before she died.
February 76. I had seen this job advertised, and a friend
Yes, you were going to look after the old prince's baby grandson. Now, where did you live?
I lived with his daughter. She was divorced, a palace full of women.
And did the princess live with him?
Oh, she lived in another palace with her father, who was the old prince's son.
So, the old prince lived in his palace, his daughter was in the women's palace where you lived, and his son was in another palace with his daughter, the girl we're talking about. 3 palaces.
9 palaces. Everyone had a palace in the capital, another palace by the sea, and a palace in the mountains.
And when you're talking about a palace, you mean a large modern villa?
Yeah, except the old prince. He had this wonderful palace and a garden.
Now, when did you meet the princess?
About 3 weeks after I had arrived. We were all in the capital, sometime in March.
March 76?
Yes. One morning I woke up, and the palace was full of rubbish, a mess. There had been a big party the night before, and all the princesses were still sleeping. No one moved all day, except the servants. Then, about 5 o'clock in the afternoon, I remember it so well. She was literally like a child.
Jita zur Josie.
She started calling the baby, my husband, my husband. Those royals all marry cousins. She said she was just going to wait until the little boy was old enough to marry her.
Breakfast.
At this time, we understood each other from the beginning. At first, we talked nothing but rubbish.
Mean end. Mean end. Anna.
You talked to each other in English?
Oh, she spoke a sort of kitchen English. She had all the dirty words, though. I picked up a bit of Arabic by then. The rest was just a sort of feeling.
London. Habibi? Habibi. She wanted to know all about my lovers here.
And you?
She told me about her husband.
Oh, husband.
In the first 5 minutes, you found out she had never loved him. It was an arranged marriage.
Oh, my husband, America. You love him?
The way she talked about him was just coward.
Cousin.
But you can't say that. He had left her to live his own life in the States.
Portrait of him.
And she was banished into staying with her parents, like all the divorcees, back to Mama and Papa.
And after that, did you see a lot more of her?
Oh, she was always popping in and out, sometimes for the night, sometimes staying for weeks. That's the way they do things over there. Maybe a party, then everyone sleeping until 5 o'clock in the afternoon. I mean, no one ever got up before 12.
Apart from all this eating and the partying, what do the princesses actually do?
Nothing. Nothing. Nothing.
Did they ever take any exercise?
Oh, no, hopefully. Making love.
So there was a lot of that. I mean, this idea that she was the only one who broke the rules.
What else could you do? I mean, if you're so damned bored, caged up in those palaces, there's nothing else on your mind.
I'm not being critical. I'm just trying to establish what she did that was so different, so exceptional, and brought everything down on top of her. I mean, if all the other women were having affairs...
My contract is to talk to you about the princess, not the others. Those things are not for you, not for me either. I mean, if I wanted to write a bestseller, I could tell such things, but I'm not going to say a word.
Okay. So, a life of total boredom. Caged up, as you said. Servants doing everything. I mean, when a princess undresses, she drops her clothes on the floor, a servant picks them up.
And when she dresses, the servant has to lay out 11 costumes so she can choose. And the servant has to go down to the boutique and bring back all the latest Paris fashion, all on approval. And when she has a bath, the servant runs her water and talks to her to cheer her up and towels her dry. And the servant cuts your nails and combs your hair.
Did she ever have a serious discussion with you?
Her kitchen English, my Arabic.
Or did she seem serious about anything? Religion, for instance. Did she pray?
Praying is for daytime, when she slept. In our palace, praying was for the servants.
No. Snaili al-qahwa.
Sometimes she'd lie down and listen to recordings of the Quran. Oh, but just for relaxation. It's very soothing.
Did she read?
Oh, only those film magazines. Her special hero was Abdul Halim. As soon as he came up on TV, she blew kisses at him. TV was the big thing. Not the local programs, they were rubbish. But cassettes. We were always getting films and foreign programs. We saw Sound of Music a dozen times. They knew every scene by heart. Top of the Pops used to come every week, fresh from London.
But didn't she do anything or say anything that would suggest a growing resentment against all this? Defiance? Rebellion?
Oh, she was always defiant. She loved Western pop music, but the servants hated it.
No, that's not exactly what I meant.
Her favorite song was Save Your Kisses For Me. It's sung by the Brotherhood of Man. All she could say was kisses for me. That's as far as she got. Kisses for me. She would play it, and the servants would sit there with cross faces. And she'd play it again, and the servants would get in crosser, and again 20 times. And she'd laugh at them. Smoking, that was strictly forbidden, but she didn't care. Her grandmother would come sniffing about, and the princess would laugh and point to me and say, it's her.
The grandmother. How often did you see the grandfather?
Oh, about once a month. All his women would go up to the palace. The daughters from his other wives, the granddaughters, the cousins. One by one in those chauffeur cars. Beauty after beauty, dressed up like a peacock. As each girl enters the palace, she'd drop her veil. It was like a wedding. Every girl trying to outdo the other. Then we'd all wait by the doorway of this big room. Wait for Papa.
The old prince. What was he like?
Very calm, very generous.
He was so simple and quiet when he came.
He is the king's elder brother, one of those who rode out of the desert, you know, sword in hand at his father's side. But also, and this is the irony of ironies, he was one of the original Arab playboys.
They call it a majlis. That's Arabic. The head of the family, with all the women folk around. Very formal, very polite.
كيفك؟ صار لي شهر بالتمام ما سمعت.
They say that the girl carried the old man's seeds, that she had his traits. She was very much like her grandfather, also very fiery-tempered, a bit wild. She acted first and thought afterwards.
It was just little bits of gossip, but if you looked into his eyes, how satisfied and happy he was with all his family around him. His behavior and quietness was almost holy.
We came to London in November 1976. She was like a child.